All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakwadash, giving double honor to the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. Coming back with another lesson off some information that the elders shared. So I figured I'd just bring it out in a lesson, and it's going into Mexico moving forward, with the MOTB, which is the RFID microchip. So we'll just get into a couple articles and, we'll just bring out, Revelation 13. And then we'll get into the lesson or the articles, Salaki. So we'll, Revelation 13, 16. It says, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So, we know through the Spirit that this is speaking of the RFID microchip, the implant, which is coming soon, by the way, but one of the articles, that the elders put up, it says RFID chips implanted in Mexican law enforcement workers. So it says Macedo went on to say that 160 of his employees had been implanted with the rice grain sized chip manufactured by the Very Chip Corp in Delray, Florida. It says, although developed and manufactured in the U.S., the chips and the scanning technologies that work with them are still pretty much blocked for most human use in the U.S. It says, although that could change if the FDA approved the devices for health care and medical use. It says the firm expects a decision for the FDA soon, from the FDA soon. And we know that, Trump is moving towards the, that universal health care or where your medical records will be shared through all the healthcare, organizations. So no matter where you go, your medical records will be available, It will be tied to everything, man, no matter where you go, if you go to the airport, and they're doing it now in some form, with the, I think if you get that TSA pre-check, all these things, man, tying in together, and they're tracking you. They already got facial recognition at the airports. You don't even really need to show your passport anymore. They just scan your face. So it says, we've sold about 7,000 worldwide, said Angela Fletcher, Verichip's vice president and marketing and communications. In an interview Thursday, it says, we think about 1,000 have been implanted in humans. Hey, man, we right here. We're right here. And, hey, this man is moving forward with his plan. But we know the Lord is going to ultimately, foil his plan at the end. But he's going to, this microchip is coming. And the world is going to be tried. Not just a group here and a group there. The whole world is going to be tried, with the implementation of the chip, as well as the technologies that they're implementing. Everywhere you go in the world, they're gonna know everything about you, man. You know, like I said, your medical records. You go overseas, you go to France. You know, you check into a hospital. They know everything about you. They know your medication, your medical records. They know everything. This is how it's gonna be. You know, and with this RFID microchip, it's just a form of tracking you. You know, you won't be able to uh, go off the grid. You won't be able to, just live a independent life because without that chip, you won't be able to do anything. So that's the article. You know, if you want to read it, but even more so, Mexico is doing this. You know, that's just the law enforcement. But outside of that, it says Mexico is implementing a mandatory biometric identification system, transforming the existing chirp, clave, unca, hold on, única, de registro de publicación into a digital identification document. It says this new system will incorporate biometric data like fingerprints, facial scans, and iris scans alongside existing personal information and will be used for accessing both public and private services, man. So this is going to be all the citizens. You know, every citizen is going to have to do this. It says key features and implications, Salakia. It says mandatory biometric chirp. The chirp traditionally is an alphanumeric code. Traditionally, an alphanumeric code will now include biometric data for all Mexican citizens. Digital identity. It says the system will utilize a digital format, potentially on a card, with a QR code for verification. And we know eventually this is going to be on a chip in your hand, man. That QR, that card or with the QR code is going to be implanted in your body, you know, and this is not medical information. This is just, bringing forth the article. So, let's see what biometric is. All right, this is definition of biometric. Let's see. Definition of biometric. It says biometric involving the automated recognition of individuals by means of unique physical characteristics, typically, it says relating to or involving the application of statistical analysis to biological data. So, this is dealing with your body, man. So eventually it's going to lead to that chip. And I also wanted to look this up, the Mexican president. This is the Mexican president right here. That's the Mexican president, but we're going to read a little bit on her. It says Claudia Pardo is a Mexican politician, energy and climate change scientist, says an academic who has served as 66 and current president of Mexico since 2024. She is the first woman to hold office. It says drop down. It says Forbes ranked her as Shine Bomb. That's her name, Shine Bomb. So that should tell you a lot. Shine Bomb. It says Forbes ranked Shine Bomb as the fourth most powerful woman in the world, which, that's neither here nor there. Probably definitely false on that. But they got to give her a title. But she does have some power, even though she's doing the will of the elites. So we want to drop down to here. Early life and family. It says Claudia Scheinbaum was born on June 24th, 1962 in Mexico City with a Mexican Jewish family. It says she is the second child of chemist Carlos Scheinbaum, Yoselev Vets or something like that, a biologist, whatever their names are, man. But this is the point. Carlos Scheinbaum was of Ashkenazi Jewish descent. Ashkenazi Jewish descent, So that lets you know a lot, man. These people are always behind some form of wickedness, man. But hey, man, things are moving forward. That's just Mexico. It's soon to be the United States. It's going to be some form of resistance here in Babylon the Great. But, it's definitely coming. So, that was just a quick lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, it was edifying. But, we want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rekakwadash. Shalom.